On the interview with me today, Aisha Faridi, I have someone who's at the helm of one of India's most powerful consumer brands. Please welcome the MD and CEO of Asian Paints, Amit Syngle. Amit, thank you so much for joining today on ET Now. And what a beautiful place this is, Nilaya. Just absolutely unique.
Yeah, first of all, I think a pleasure talking to you. And yes, this has been one of my dreams in terms of looking at what we make here. And this is more like a community in terms of what we are looking for, art and design lovers. It's also an international design center, something very unique, which is not there in the world as a model to that extent. And we've been experimenting, and that's the core of Asian Paints, that we keep on really inventing, looking at new things and see what we can really make a mark with.
I want to get a little myopic here, and I want to just draw down to the last 2 years. Tell me one toughest moment when you felt like giving up, or did you at all?
So actually, I never felt like giving up, to be very honest and straight. But I think there were taxing moments in terms of where, there was a lot of exhilaration in terms of what was taking. There was a lot of anxiety which was there in terms of what's going on in the market. And yes, I think overall we were strategizing and re-strategizing in terms of how do we really get into this game far more strongly, given our strengths which have been for years to that extent. So yes, there were anxious moments in terms of what we were seeing, but I think we stood firm to our basically strategy and seeing in terms of how do we navigate through this entire storm which is coming.
But tell me, this is not the first time you faced competition. What was so different about the last competitor who joined the paints industry as opposed to what has happened in the past?
So when we look at it across, when you see over the years, what you said is right. We've had lots of competitors coming in and a lot of MNCs coming in to that extent, which is there. So we had Sherwin-Williams, which came in earlier. We have Jotun, Nippon, and so on and so forth. I think the difference here was that someone came and tried to basically look at, doing a very disruption by looking at a scale which was very, very big in terms of the sense. And someone possibly we felt that were not really bothered about the money they were burning in the sense in terms of what was going in the market. So I think it was what we saw, that there was a certain scale, there was a certain possibly ambitiousness from a point of view of really kind of disrupting the market from the point of view of the way they were kind of coming and so on and so forth. So I think it was more from the point of view of the scale in terms of what we saw it coming, and the fact that there was someone in the market who was really burning the money and not really bothered in terms of how will it kind of go in future.
Yeah. So would you say that is the biggest threat, the scale?
See, actually, what we see is that there has been something which is nothing very different in terms of what we have seen. It is all Me Too in terms of whether it is the product range, whether it is service, whether it is in terms of the distribution, or whether it is from the plants. Because actually it is all people from Asian Paints only who have gone there to that extent. So from that point of view...
it's a compliment.
Yeah, it is.
It is a compliment.
It is. And that has always been in the industry. We have all people from Asian Paints all across to that extent. So I think from that point of view, there has been nothing different. But I think the only difference which we felt was that the kind of, possibly discounting, the kind of possibly the burning of the money was something which
aggression,
was very,
basically.
Which was very, very high to that extent. No, there can be aggression in marketing, there can be aggression in innovation, but it is aggression from a point of view of discounting in terms of what we saw, which was something which was very different in terms of what is there, and we felt that possibly it kind of just carried on for a while to that extent.
But does it work in your industry? Because continual discounting would then also mean quality suffers, right? Or does it not? I'm just trying to understand this better.
So actually, I think that's a good point, because today, if you look at it, our industry is not like an FMCG, okay? It's neither like a consumer durable, it is something in between. And at the same time, the consumer in a paint industry is coming for painting once in 5 years. Okay, unlike an FMCG industry where I am buying every week, every day, every month kind of a zone, and I'm really interacting with the brand. So therefore, I think the difference in this industry which I see is that unless you have the capability of building the brand over 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, it is very difficult for someone to really survive in the market, because your instant discounting, instant pricing will you get you the current customer. Okay, the customer which is going to come literally the next year, you have to kind of really start looking at sustaining the same thing in terms of what you're doing with that customer, because the customer which is coming is totally different. So I think it's a very unique industry from that point of view, and therefore I think the name of the game in our industry is sustenance. Name of the game is really building the brand and looking at consistency in terms of your actions, in terms of what you're able to bring over a number of years to that extent. So I think industry per se requires a lot of patience. It requires a lot of resilience in terms of what you need to kind of show. And therefore, whatever you do in the industry, one has to be very careful that from a point of view of medium to long term, you are able to really sustain your actions in terms of what you are taking to that extent. That is the only possibility that you will really survive in the industry.
So what did you do in the last 2 years to mitigate competition and maintain the dominance that Asian Paints has?
So actually, I think one of the big things which we did was that we stood our ground from our own strategy. We never ran in terms of looking at saying that we have to react. We looked at possibly standing firm onto our real kind of strategy which is there, and that was all about creating excellence. So right from the point of view of looking at brand, where we looked at creating our own brand excellence and really building the brand equity, because we felt that that is one area which the customer really trusts this brand. And we look at in terms of so many ways where you could kind of really say that Asian Paints continues to stay top of the mind of the customer as we kind of go. And therefore, the initiatives which we took were very many in terms of saying that you are reaching to the customer not in the conventional manner, you are looking at the customer very differently. And not only that, you are looking at the segmentation of today, which is the millennials, the Gen Zs, so very differently, so that today you are not just a legacy brand, but you are also a brand of the future in terms of what you're connecting with. So I think that was the one very big area in terms of what we appropriated. Along with that, I think we gave an impetus in terms of looking at our whole area of executional excellence, because that is one thing which Asian Paints has always been very proud of the way in terms of how we approach our distribution, our supply chain, our whole area of looking at how we work with technology. I think we really upped the ante on that in such a manner that we brought in more technology, we bettered our excellence from a point of view of how we service the market, we increased our reach from the point of view where we were to that extent, and that was the other area which we worked very, very strongly. The third big area which we did, we put the whole area of innovation in product to another anvil to that extent. We really revolutionized a lot many of our products. We revolutionized, a lot of new products which we got into the market.
What is the one thing you think you could have done differently? You always had these plans, you were going to execute them, but in your own time. Like you said, in the last 2 years, because of competition, you only accelerated it. Is there something that you thought that maybe you could have done earlier and then you didn't have to face this kind of heat in the last 2 years?
I think one thing which we felt was that was there a better way we could kind of have, retained a lot of people who have been with Asian Paints, and they would have not really kind of gone in terms of looking at, and possibly it could have become even more difficult for the competition to kind of really copy everything and really bring it to the market to that extent. And we felt that possibly retention is something which we could have looked at much better in terms of how we could kind of do. And therefore, now we have introduced a lot of initiatives which is around people as well, in terms of how do we nurture them, how do we kind of take them along as we really look at possibly the next decade.
Going forward now, there'll always be competition, as is the case with any industry.
Yeah.
What do you think has been your learning in the last 2 years? What would you do differently to try and maybe not have to accelerate things which you're already on your drawing board?
So see, actually, in most of the areas I see across the world, I think technology is the biggest disruptor. Okay, so you see what's happening today in the AI world, so whether it was ChatGPT or DeepSea or, anything which is kind of coming today, it really is disrupting what is already there to that extent. So I think that's the paradigm in terms of what we are choosing, in terms of saying that if we have to always stay ahead of the market, if we have to really keep on making our mark, the whole area of the innovation excellence has to be our real strategy in terms of going forward. And therefore, in everything what we do, whether it is literally looking at forecasting, which is about really predicting in terms of how material will move in various parts of the country, whether we bring in a lot of technology there and look at that very differently, or you look at from the point of view of visualization. Today, customer is interested in two areas. One is visualization, the other is execution of what the person sees. And therefore, we are bringing a lot of AI into our visualization.
Like?
So that if today you are coming from your home and you want to see that there is a certain wallpaper, there is a certain artifact, how would that possibly look into your space? So we could quickly in the next few minutes only construct your full house with that artifact, with that wallpaper, with that color, so that the visualization is something superb, because that would kind of aid faster decision making in terms of how it will happen, and also give a very different world to the customer, whether it is a new age customer or a legacy customer, in terms of how it is kind of coming in. So innovation, as I said, in terms of ops, innovation from the point of view of customers in terms of how we want to look at visualization, innovation from the point of view of technology platforms in terms of what we introduced. So as we are going ahead now, we are looking at saying that one of the big areas which Asian Paints is kind of taking up is inimitability.
But Amit, everything that you talked about, be it brand building, brand recall, technology, people, all of this is very, very capex heavy. Are you ready for it at Asian Paints?
Again, when you look at from the point of view of excellence, I think cost excellence is also one of our very big areas in terms of what we are working. When I say cost excellence, one of the areas is that today our industry has almost about 57 contribution which comes from the material cost to that extent. So I think one of the bigger areas of working with technology is that whatever we are talking of bringing into the market, we also talk of a cost excellence in terms of what comes in. So the moment you look at cost excellence, it gives us a lot of areas which we are able to play with when we look at the whole area of cost reductions which come in. And not only that, we are also looking at seeing how we can harness the whole world of technology from the point of view of increasing productivity in a very big way. And that is something which gives strength to a brand of this stature in terms of what we are trying to build. And as we go ahead, I think we have unleashed in the last about 5 years now, a lot many areas, what we term as the backward integration today. Okay, so we have opened now a white cement plant in Fujairah in Dubai. We are opening a very, very big plant of almost about 3,000 crores investment in terms of really making emulsion, which is what is the next gen emulsion in terms of what we call. There are only about
Which is what?
four operators in the world who have that technology, and we are going to be the first in India in terms of what we are going to do. And this is a next gen emulsion which we call, which has very low VOC, which means that it is very green, it has no smell, it can give very special properties to the paint in terms of what is there, and it comes at a very low cost. So it has all the parameters in terms of what we can look at in terms of defining our next 10 to 20 years in terms of what we will do to that extent. So therefore, the whole area of backward integration is something which is going to really give us a cushion from a point of view of really seeing that the margins which we are trading on, we kind of really build on that and really see that all these investments which we are going to make as we kind of go forward, we also get a cushion in terms of cost excellence, as well as from the point of view of the backward integration in terms of what we are putting in, which will keep on giving us the energy and cushion to really keep on going as we go ahead with all these initiatives.
in